PB&J.
PB&J, I always forget.
PB&J, got it.
Perfect. So our group focused on the demographics within the PMI chapter here in Utah. Basically just a really quick breakdown of it with the goal of figuring out what needs to be done to focus on specifically the millennial demographic, which we'll explain why that's why we're focusing on that demographic. But as you see into the demographics currently with the PMI chapter here, the biggest majority of the demographics is the Gen Xers, which as you can see is anyone between the ages of 39 and 59 years old. And they are basically the combination of everyone else, and they still have more than the millennials and the baby boomers. So they're just a really big demographic group within the current chapter. But the baby boomers are those who are basically just going into retirement right now. And so it kind of makes sense why you don't see as many of them. And the millennials are ages between 18 and 38. And so they are starting to push into that demographic where they could see a lot of potential, I guess you could say progress or a lot of benefit from being within the PMI chapter, but we're not seeing those numbers translate over very well. And then when you look at the workforce as well, it's not that millennials aren't really working. When you compare the millennial workforce compared to Gen X and baby boomers, they're actually all about the same. There's not a predominantly more amount of Gen Xers within the workforce. It's actually all pretty much the same. But as you saw in the last slide, there's a lot more from this group in PMI than there are in this group. And so as we can see, it's just not translating over as well. And so it's not a matter of there's not enough millennials to be in PMI. It's just because maybe the traditions, the social aspects, the culture within PMI isn't fitting to the demographics of millennials and what they like to be in. So kind of how that breaks down as well is if you look at the demographic impacts of PMI, you need to change your strategy with each demographic that you have, because each demographic has a very different culture. For example, if you look at this structure within the workforce, this is what the baby boomers are used to. This is the type of structure they're used to, where they have the big CEO up top, and then he has his managers and executives, and then they have managers that report to them, and then it like goes down the chain of command. And that's what baby boomers are used to. They're used to those various lines.
Okay.
So that's their culture. And if you go to the next, Gen Xers are used to working alone. That is the culture that they have grown up in. It's just kind of like, get it done on your own. If you can't do it, then we're going to give it to someone else who's going to do it. But it's focused a lot more on the individual just getting it done themselves. The next generation you have is the millennials. And the millennials are very, very social butterflies. They like to be in groups. They like to be around people. They're the ones who have the open floor space or floor plan within companies. And if you see a lot of tech companies that have started within the past 20 years, a lot of their culture within their company is this just very open floor plan of, hey, if you need something, you come over and talk with me, and it's just a very social environment. So that's just a brief overview of how each demographic has their own specific culture that they like and thrive in, and it leads into maybe that's why the PMI chapter here in Utah is more focused on the culture of the Gen Xers, and could be a reason why the millennials aren't attracted to it, because the culture doesn't fit what they like.
And on to the next is tapping into that millennial market. And in order to do that, like Thomas was talking about, you need to understand them. You need to understand their culture. And so these are just a few things that we did our research on, understanding millennials and what they like, and what they define themselves as. They define themselves as passionate people, and they go into careers and things that they're interested in and that they're passionate about. They don't go into it necessarily for the money. 79% of them define success by doing what they're passionate about. And they want their freedom, kind of that culture. They don't want to be tied down necessarily do a 9 to 5. You know, I've seen many videos on YouTube where they show millennials in the way that they like to work. You know, they show up to work late, they work for a couple hours, they socialize, they go take a break, coffee break, they come back, they work a couple more hours, they take lunch, they come. It's not sitting down at the desk the whole day, and so also they're influenced by the brands, and by what the companies stand for, their core values and their vision. So these are just some recommendations. Is just to amp up the social media platform to focus more on millennials and what they're interested in. Reaching out to younger generations through advertisement. I know that sometimes on the radio or billboards, that's sometimes how you get people interested, and social media is probably more successful with that. Freelance. They're talking about how freelance is so popular right now, and in some way to incorporate freelance into the PMI, the way that they do things, and encouraging and showing examples of how you can use that membership as a freelance. And obviously, like I said before, using the popular brands, the things that they're interested in, highlighting on that.
So I added, I don't know why it didn't update this.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I changed a couple things. Basically, I was reading a couple articles today, and one said, according to a Millennial Impact Report, millennials care about and want to do volunteer work. So I'm focusing now in the volunteering part of PMI. And one of the things that it talks about is about that millennials, even though they are about doing volunteering work, they are not really loyal to the organization. They want to help. So one of the things that I think is important is PMI to be very upfront and honest about, not honest, but clear about what they want to achieve and how the millennials can help them to get, to reach their goals. And also making the website, I think it is mobile friendly, and maybe like short videos, little ads. And then for retention, constant compliments. We like to know what impact we are doing, what we are helping, any like work or volunteering, and we like to feel responsible. So that's something PMI also should work on. Something I thought was really important when I worked at the church, which is very similar. You get paid, but you're doing mostly because of the reason behind, So like one-on-one interviews, goal-setting interviews, and skill development to see like how you can help this younger generation to gain more skills to like reach like a promotion or a career path that they want. Yeah, and social activities. We always like that.
Take care, thank